That's a lovely water feature you have too, Grace. Isn't that nice? G'day. This is not Studio A, you say? No. If you saw my weekend markets vlog at Ipswich and the house that I used to live in, I'm actually about one street away from where I used to live. So I lived there at the same time that you bought this place. You and John.
Yeah, 1991.
It's bizarre, isn't it?
It is, isn't it?
So that's probably, as the crow flies, what, it wouldn't be half a kilometre?
Yeah, yeah.
Half a mile.
And here we sit together having a cup of coffee.
Some years later.
Yeah, yeah.
That's weird. Yeah. Isn't it amazing? And we never knew each other.
Yeah, it is amazing. Yeah.
I'm with my very good friend Grace, who's a fellow actress, and I met on set once. So,
yeah.
It's bizarre, isn't it?
It was fun.
It was fun.
The way we met, and then started to act together.
And you just make connections.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've met a few good people like
that. Yeah, me too. Yeah. It's a wonderful industry, isn't it?
Well,
in many ways.
It's an industry.
In many ways.
In some ways it's fascinating, other ways it's, I don't know, good and bad. But I tell you, the last year you got a lot more work acting than I did.
Yeah, I was lucky in some ways because it was not just through, you know, the way I get a lot of work is through Star Now, that website. Yeah. But I also had a couple of people call me that I had worked with before. Yeah. And as I said today, some release or whatever they call it. So it worked well for me.
Residuals,
it was fun. I really enjoyed it, actually.
Well, I know from, when I've edited your show reels, you do a lot of TVCs, which means television commercials.
Yes.
Those who don't know.
Yes.
You seem to do a lot of them, and you're beautiful at them.
It's because I like the lifestyle modeling. Yeah. You know, it's where you can act in many ways in a natural way. Yeah. You don't just stand and pose, and that's just not my thing. I can do it, but lifestyle modeling is more my thing. I like to improvise. I like a challenge. I like to do something that is unusual.
Yeah. So Grace, I was probably 34, maybe a bit more years ago, started doing a bit of acting and mostly behind the camera. How did you start in the industry?
Well, let me go a little bit further back than the industry. Because when I think of acting, I think of storytelling. To me, no matter what I do, whether it's a TV ad or, a dramatic storytelling, it's always storytelling. So I try to find out what is a story, and I run with that in my mind. But when you go back to storytelling, you got to see this little Dutch girl in primary school who just loved when the teacher put just one word on the blackboard and say, write a story about it. And I always had the highest grade because you could give me one word. My children can tell you I was really good at that as well, like walking through the forest and making up a whole story.
Okay, yep.
So that is where my storytelling began. Another time that I really remember, and it was really significant because it has helped me so often later on. Yep. I was 18 years old and I had to tell a Christmas story for a big church, including a whole group of young people. Now that is scary for someone who is 18.
It would be. And you've also done a lot of, what would you call it? We were talking before about the, you went to Israel?
Yeah.
The Gaza Strip?
Yeah. And that's where that experience as an 18-year-old came in, because that's when I was so scared of going in front of those people, and I had learned the lines and everything.
Oh, so you were 18 when you went there? Wow.
And that's when I said to myself, listen, if you've got to do something, just go for it.
But was it scary actually being there? Like,
it was.
It is technically, is it still a war zone, or was it at the time?
No. From
but
that
it would have
time,
been high tension.
from that time, once I was out there, I started, just throwing it out, and I had them. They were quiet. Everybody was so quiet.
Yeah.
And I learned a lesson then as an 18-year-old that if you've got to do something like that and you stand in front of people, I've done a lot of public speaking as well, just go for it.
So you were 18 when you did that?
When I was that, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it was only 2 years ago then?
He wants more coffee. He wants more coffee.
That would be okay.
So yeah,
Wow.
in every experience, that came through. And I've done a lot of children's work, storytelling.
Yep.
I've done a lot of women's work. I've done in my other career a lot of training work. I learned that presenting training is the same as acting. You have an audience.
Yeah.
With me it was often unemployed people, which are hard to capture. And I learned the same thing. You just prepare, you present something that is attractive, you present something that is convincing, and you also bring into it, and I always do that, the fact that you like these people. Even the very unlikable people,
Yeah.
I made sure that they knew that with me they were safe. And I have won over a lot of unemployed people in that way, and because of that had changes. So, and then, that was also always brought into the dramatic storytelling, as I call it, monologues that I wrote myself.
Yeah.
I used Bible stories of women. The women in the Bible are just absolutely fascinating when you get into it.
Yeah.
They're not boring at all. So I
But
wrote
you didn't
those.
wear very fashionable dresses though, did you?
Oh yes. The costumes are just trendy.
But not things you'd pick up at Kmart.
No, op shops.
Op shops.
The amount of
Shopping in op shops, I like it.
costumes, yeah. Especially my very first costume, which I still have for Mary of Magdalene.
Yeah.
It's still there, and it was sort of like a Middle Eastern dress,
Wow.
and it was perfect. It was perfect.
Wow.
So yeah, and those women. I wrote the stories. First one, just to make the story of Easter a little bit more attractive. Mary of Magdalene came on the scene. And then they asked me to do something else. And so I had to write another story. And altogether now I've got 12 characters.
12 characters.
A lot of lines to learn.
Multi-personality.
Hey, listen, you never know who you see. It can be Grace, but it can be 12 other people as well.
So I mean I've got to have 12 cups of coffee before I go home.
Yeah.
I could probably handle that. It's not unusual for me to have 12 cups of coffee in the first hour of my day.
But yes, that is fun. And then I've done a lot of work with Ipswich Little Theatre as well, which was really wonderful to learn, some of the skills that you have to bring into the art. Yeah.
Okay.
And sometimes it was small groups, sometimes it was huge audiences, like the one that I did in Jerusalem, and where I had 24 hours to learn my lines. And just as I learned them, they changed them again. You know how that goes?
Yeah. Yep.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
But that was maybe 5,000 people or something like that, and it doesn't matter, does it?
No, it's scary. Personally, I've never wanted to do, and I've never done stage or theatre. People wonder why. It's because when you do a film or something similar, I'd like to say it's one take and it's done. No, and that's not always the case. Sometimes they get you to do 35 takes on films and TV.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point is, you're there, you do your job, and you're wrapped. And unless you have to go back for pick-up shots, you're done. Whereas I just can't. I have the greatest admiration for people that will spend 3 months on Les Miserables or something every night, or Cats. No, A, I would never be that fit, and B, I couldn't do it. So to me, it's like film or TV or something similar, or corporate stuff. But no, to do that, so yeah, that's mind blowing. Well, all right, Grace, that was fantastic. Thank you again for joining me in my little vlog. Let us know if you'd like to see more. Okay, everyone, I hope you enjoyed that little chit-chat between Grace and myself. In the description down below, I'll put a link to her YouTube channel, which, like mine, is... Well, how would you say what it is?
Mine is just bits and pieces.
Mine is too, and it doesn't make sense to most people because it's an audition for,
Yeah.
you know, someone who wants you to do a set,
Yeah.
usually a set script. So, anyway, but I'll put that in there. Grace is very good, and it's an absolute honour to have met Grace, and it's now been how many years? Couple? 3?
2017, I think, we met for the first time.
That's a few.
Yes, it is.
And we still haven't seen the film.
No,
the completed film that we're in.
No completed film.
Well, that's listed on IMDb as completed.
Yeah.
Maybe one day we'll see it.
Oh, well, who knows?
But that's what happens, isn't it? Like, a lot of the stuff we do, people think it's come out the same year, but it can be years later. It finally hits post-production. Anyway, thanks, Grace. I appreciate that. And we'll chat again soon.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you for coming along.
And cheers for the beautiful
coffee. Oh,
as
yes,
usual.
yes.
Cheers, everyone. Bye. If I can't get anything out of that, I should execute myself by eating lollies. There you go, you can de-rig
Share them
now.
with me too.
I will.